Artist, and welcome back to Art with Miss Yazel. Today we're going to be looking at what we did the last time I saw you guys, and then we're going to be learning about Native Americans today. So the last time I made a video for you guys, it was, well, it doesn't want to stay on that slide. It was drawing faces, and we played a game where we rolled a dice and we looked at which one you wanted, which shape you were supposed to draw for each number for each turn that we took. You could have either print this out and play the game by yourself, or you could watch the video and I rolled the dice for you and you could draw what I drew. So those were your two choices. Today we're learning about Native American art and totem poles. And last year you learned a little bit about totem poles, and I wanted to go back and review that with you guys because we didn't quite go into the story and the meaning behind them. And those are some really cool Native American artworks that we want to explore. So a totem pole is basically a big tree that's been chopped down, and it is carved, which means that they take tools and they take away parts of the tree, and then they go back and make a face, and then they paint the whole thing. So each character on the totem pole or animal on the totem pole represents a person in a family. Well, the story Whale in the Sky is all about a specific totem pole that has different characters, and all the characters are in this story that you're going to hear.
Whale in the Sky by Anne Siberel. Long ago, the rivers and sea were filled with fish, and tall trees crowded the mountainsides. There was no written language among the Indian tribes of the Northwest, and storytellers passed history and legends from one generation to the next. Sometimes, a chief would hire an artist to carve a story in pictures on the trunk of a giant tree. Whale in the Sky is such a tale. The carved tree, called a totem pole, identified the chief and his family, his clan and tribe. In a time long ago, Thunderbird watched over the sea and land and all its creatures. One day he saw Whale, small on the horizon of the sea. He did not see Frog, small on the bank of the river. Frog trembled because Whale was growing larger. The salmon swam faster and faster as Whale chased them through the sea and into the river. Whale chased the salmon up the river, and Frog was afraid. He called to Raven. Raven flew into the sky after Thunderbird. Whale swallows the salmon and chases them into the river, he called. Thunderbird stretched his great wings wide and flew like the wind. He saw Whale in the river. He grabbed Whale in his terrible talons and flew high into the sky. Whale struggled and screamed. Thunderbird flew higher and higher. Then he dropped Whale on the highest mountain. Frog was safe. He thanked his friend Raven. Now there were salmon for the people who lived beside the river. Whale gasped and shivered on the mountain. He promised to stay out of the river if he could return to the sea. Thunderbird clapped his great wings, and Whale slid down the mountain, back into the sea. The chief of the people told his tale to the carver. The carver made the story into a totem pole. Thunderbird holds Whale, while Raven watches over Salmon and Frog. The end.
So, this story was about all of the characters that were in that totem pole. So, what you can do at home is you can print out the totem pole faces, choose probably 2 or 3 of your totem pole faces, and then you can get a piece of construction paper or regular paper. I would suggest brown, like a tree, but if you don't have brown, that's okay. You could color a piece of paper brown. You're going to cut out 3 of those faces that you colored, and you're going to glue them so that they look like a totem pole. So turn your paper horizontal and glue them down the middle, and then you can roll it into a cylinder to stand up like a totem pole. So I'm going to demonstrate that in the video. If you want to go by my directions, or you can watch the rest of this video so that you can figure out how to make your totem pole. Construction paper 9x12, and I have cut out some of the characters from the totem pole pages faces. So I would suggest maybe one big one that could go at the top. And the reason I'm putting it in the middle of this paper, this paper is horizontal, and I'm going to put it down the middle because I'm going to roll this into a tube to form the totem pole. So this one I didn't quite get all of it cut off. So I'm going to go back and trim it just a little bit more. Make sure, first graders, that you're using your scissors correctly. You're holding this scissor hand still, and you're driving your paper when you cut. Okay. These, of course, would need to be colored because they don't look very good black and white. And the totem pole faces that we saw earlier, they had lots of color. And mainly, they tried to make the eyes really stand out, and they made them black in the middle, and they colored around them so that they really stood out like an eye should on a face. So you would color these appropriate colors. That's supposed to be a toad, I think. In the story, there was a thunderbird and there was a whale. But my whale here that was on the page was really different than the whale in the story. But I could do this and overlap them to make them fit. And then there was also a salmon in the story, and hopefully I can't remember which pages I put on there on Schools PLP for you guys, but I will try to add some more today when this lesson goes up. Okay, so then the next one might be a little bit overlapping. Just going to put it close. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what I would do is I would try to figure out how you're going to place them, and then get yourself a glue stick and Like I said, arrange them how you want. And you're going to put glue in the middle. This one's going to overlap, so I'm going to have to put some glue on the back of it. And then place this one on top a little. So the bird's head and feathers are kind of hanging off the edge of the paper. And that's okay. And I would go ahead and glue this down so that when you roll this, it doesn't pop out on you. We want the wings of the eagle to pop out because we want them to look like they're standing out from the pole. Remember to color these really nicely because it does look better when you color them. Sometimes I let kids, first graders and kindergartners, use markers on these just because the eyes will stand out really well. So if you have markers, you use markers on these. And if you have crayons, then use crayons. And if you don't have these, you may have to pause the video and see if you can attempt to draw some of the faces. But they are kind of hard. I would suggest printing them out if possible. And I went online and found these pages of faces. So it's called Totem Pole Collage is what if you were to Google it. So then I'm just rolling this paper into a cylinder so that it stands up like a totem pole. Okay? So you can roll it, and you could glue it if you wanted. You could tape it. You could staple it. I don't see my stapler. Let's see. Here's my stapler. I can staple it. If you have glue at home, you probably just want to glue it and then let it dry. We don't do that at school because it takes too long for the glue to dry, and then you don't get to take them home. So, you may have remembered making these, like I said, when you were in kindergarten. Some of us didn't get to finish them, so hopefully you'll have plenty of time at home to work on it and to make your own totem pole. Happy creating!